Hi, my name is Janie, and today I'm going to show you all about Google Drive. Forget that file cabinet, throw away that thumb drive. With Google Drive, you can create and upload files to the cloud and access them easily anywhere on any device. With your PVUSD account, you also have unlimited storage. Google Drive is a great tool for collaborating and sharing files with others. If you're already logged in to your browser or to your Google account, you can go to the 9 squares to look at your apps and then click on the triangular drive icon to go to your Google Drive. Or you could open another tab and type drive.google.com and click enter, and that'll load your Google Drive. If you are not logged in to your browser or to your Google account, if you go to the apps and select Drive, you will need to log into your account. For a PVUSD account, you need your name _ last name at pvusd.net. And students would need their username here, which is a series of numbers at pvusd.net. With a regular Gmail account, you would only need your username. Once you enter your username, you will need to enter your password, and that should get you into your Google Drive. Google Drive is organized into folders and files. Here I am in list view, and I can see that all of my folders are at the top. If I scroll all the way down past my folders, then there's individual files that are not in folders. And I scroll to the top. As you can see, they're listed alphabetically, A to Z, but if I click on name, it'll change it to Z to A order. Like I mentioned before, I'm in list view right now, which has more information. You can see the name of the folder or file, you can see the owner, and you can see when it was last modified. Some people prefer grid view. You can click on this button here, and that simply makes it into larger icons. So if I go down to my files, you can see the difference there. Again, that has less information, but it's easier to find files. I'm going to switch back to list view. Another thing you might notice is that your profile picture is at the top right. If you click on that, if you don't have one yet, you can click on your generic icon and then click change photo. And then you can drag one from your desktop or search your computer for a picture. Another thing you might notice is this rainbow question mark icon. It's G Suite training. If you're in any Google app and you're logged into the browser, you'll see that. You can go through and work through different lessons about Google Drive. If you click on the little drop-down triangle, it'll show you all the lessons about that topic. You can also search here. So let's say I want to know how to change my settings. I can search for settings, and then all of the lessons about settings will appear. Another way that Google Drive is organized is by these tabs on the side here. Some of them have those drop-down triangles. So if I go to My Drive here and click on the drop-down, it will load all of the folders that I have here. You can click on the drop-down triangle next to one of those folders to see if there's any more folders inside of it. If you want to close these folders, you can click on that top triangle again. That way you can see just the tabs here. Now I'm going to explain a little bit more about each of these tabs. My Drive is where you go to find any folders or files that you have created or uploaded. Team drives I'll explain more about in a little bit. Shared with me is where you go to find anything that someone else has shared with you. You can see the name of the file and also who shared it with you. Shared with me tends to fill up pretty quick, so it's kind of hard to find things in there. So if something seems really important that you want to find more easily, I would add it to your drive. So for example, if I want to add this Radcliffe Hour of Code document to my drive, I can click on it and then click on this icon that has the triangle and the plus sign on it You can also find that if you right click on it, and it'll say add to my drive. So I'll click on that, and then it says added to my drive. So if I go to my drive, I can scroll down, and it said Radcliffe Hour of Code. And there it is. And so I can see that it's listed in my drive to make it easier for me to find, but I can still see that the owner is not me. Another thing you can do with files that have been shared with you is make a copy. You probably want to do that just in case someone unshares it with you, or if you want to make a copy so you can modify it. So once you find a file, how about this All About Me example, I can right click on it and click on make a copy. And so it says creating copy of All About Me example, and then that'll be located in my drive. Now you can go search for it in my drive, or this recent tab shows you your most recent activity, so I can also see it there. And then once it's your copy, even if it was a view-only doc when it was shared with you, once you make it yours, then you can edit it. You can also rename it. The starred tab is where anything that you have starred goes. You might want to star things that are important or things that you are working on recently. So I'm going to go back to that recent tab to find that All About Me example. So if I want to keep working on that, but I don't want it to get lost, I can always right click on it and click on Add to Starred. And then you can see that that little star shows up next to it. So if I go back to that Starred tab, now I can easily find it there. And the last one is the Trash tab. Anything that you have deleted goes there, and it stays there unless you click on a file and then click on that little trash can. Or you can right click on it and say delete forever. You also have the chance to restore a file. This does not get emptied on its own. You have to click on empty trash if you'd like to empty everything in your trash. You can also select multiple files. For example, if I click this first file and then I hold down Shift and click on another one, that will highlight a bunch of files at once, and I can right click in there and delete forever. Another way you can do it is you can hold down Command or Control and then click individual files. That way you can select files that are spread out and then right click on any of those blue areas or click on that trash can to delete forever. And the last thing is the storage. You can see how much you've used, but again, we have unlimited storage on our PVUSD accounts. I'm going to go back to my drive by clicking here to show you a few more things about clicking on files. So the way I open a folder or file is by double clicking on it. So if I click on this Reader's Workshop folder, double click, I can see that I have more folders and files inside here. If I double click on that, I can see more files. So you can definitely nest folders in Google Drive. If I want to go back, I can click the back button, or I can just click on my drive if I want to go back to that list. If you left click on a file, more options will appear right here. So if I click just one time, now I can see that I have this button for getting a shareable link. I can click on this icon to share, and that'll give me more options as far as sharing, like entering individual names or choosing the permissions. I'll talk more about that later. You can also remove the file, and you can click on the three dots for more actions. So if I click there, some useful things are moving. I can move it to another folder, for example. I can add a star. That way I can find it here in that starred tab. I can change the color of the folder, especially if it's something that I go to often. It'll make it easy to find. So I can just select one of these and change it. I can rename it, and I could even download that folder or file. Another thing you can do is right click on a folder or file. So that kind of does the same thing that left click does. When I left clicked, all the options came up at the top here, right? But if I right click, I get all the options in one place. I don't have to click on those three dots for more options. One thing to notice about files in your Google Drive is some of them have this little profile icon. That means that that's a shared folder or file. And so, for example, this person has shared this folder with me, but I also see that icon on folders that I created. So anything that is shared that is not private has that icon. By default, all files that you create or upload to My Drive are private unless you share, and I'll go into that a little bit later. So here on the files, that little icon is at the end. Another icon that you might want to look out for, it's this little square with several little profile pictures in it, and that means that that file or these files are located in a team drive. Now I'm going to show you how to upload files or create files in Google Drive. For both of those options, you need to click on that New button, and then you can see that you can create a folder or upload files or folders. Best to be using Google Chrome for that. Or you can select one of these file types below. Google Docs is the Google version of Word. Google Sheets is like Excel, and Google Slides is like PowerPoint. The difference is that on any of these Google files, you can share with other people and collaborate, so you can work on them at the same time. You can also go to More to see some more options. A couple useful ones are Google Forms, so you can make self-grading quizzes, for example, or send out a survey, Google Drawings, or Google Sites. And you can always connect more apps. If you click on that, you can search for useful apps that you can add to your Google Drive. I'm going to go ahead and create a Google Doc by clicking on New and then selecting Google Docs. Just to show a few features of Google Docs. The first thing you may want to do is click where it says Untitled Document to rename your document. However, if you forget, you can have unlimited amounts of untitled documents. It'll just be harder to find. Another option is to type your title, and then if you click where it says Untitled Document, it'll fill it in with whatever you wrote for title. Similar to Word, you can see that there's a lot of different options as far as what to do here in your toolbar. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. One thing that's useful in the classroom is adding pictures. For example, after kids write their essay, they can add a picture about it. So they can go to Tools and Explore. And the useful thing is, once you find your picture, you can just drag it over. So I'm going to go ahead and search for cat. And then I click on Images, and then I can scroll through and find the picture that I want. Once you find a picture, you can just drag it over. And then once it's loaded, if you click on it, you can still click on the corner here to resize. You can also click on it if I want to center it. I could click on it, and then I don't see that option here. Oh no, here it is, the Align tool. But because I zoomed in, some of my tools went away, but you can always click on that three dots for more options. So here I'm going to align it to the center. Another way you can add a picture instead of dragging it is when you mouse over them, you see this little plus sign. You can click on that to insert the image and then resize. It's important to resize by using the corner, because if you, for example, drag it from the side here, it'll stretch the picture, changing the proportions. Another helpful thing to know is if you're on a Mac, you can click on Command Z to undo. If you're on a PC or a Chromebook, you can click on Control Z. I'm gonna do that again so you can see. Another way you can do it is there's actually an undo button here. Another useful command you might like is Control A to select all. So if I'd like to select all of these pictures and delete them, then I can do that. Another thing you can do in Google Docs is create hyperlinks. So for example, I might want to put a link to the PVUSD page. So maybe I'll type PVUSD website. And if I want to do a hyperlink, I can highlight that and then find the little link button here, insert link, and then paste your link here. So it looks like it already recognized that I want that link. I could just click on that. But you could also open another tab and go to the site that you'd like and then copy that link with either Control C or Command C if you're on a Mac. And then I go back and paste that link with Control V or Command V and apply. So now I have some text that has been hyperlinked. So if I click on it, I can see that link. I can click on it and it'll take me where I want to go. You can also get to the Explore tool to find pictures here at the bottom by clicking on this little star in the square, and that'll open up so you can do a picture search. Another thing you can do is add a comment. Now, if I click next to a word here, if I want to comment about that, I can click on the button right here. It's this little speech bubble with a plus sign. It says add comment when I mouse over it. And I can type my comment there. And then click comment. Another way to add a comment is if you highlight something, then you'll see that the comment button appears here on the side. So I can click on that and type another comment. Another cool thing that you can do if you're collaborating with someone, like if you have a list of things to do, you can highlight something and then add a comment, and if you use the @ symbol in someone's name, you can assign it to them. So I might assign that to my friend Courtney here. Click assign to Courtney, and then she will get an email telling her that this has been assigned to her. Another thing I want to show you that's pretty cool about Google Docs is that if you mouse over something, there's hover text telling you what it does, but also for some of these you can see that it tells you the command. So if I print things often, I know that I can do Command P to do that. In Google Drive, you can create folders within folders. The first step is to create a folder by clicking on New and then click on Folder. It will ask you to name your folder. So for example, maybe I have a unit about language arts and I want multiple folders within that folder. So now I'm going to go to my folder called Language Arts. And there's nothing in here yet, so I can start to create different folders by clicking New. Maybe I'll have several units, Unit 1, and then I can click New again and have Unit 2, etc. Within those folders, you could double click to open it, so I'll click on this one, and then you could create even more folders or start to move files or create files inside of this folder. I could click on New to create files, but I'm going to show you how to move some files. So I'm going to go back to my drive and find some files that I'd like to move to that folder. You can move one at a time or several. So I'll just take some of these files here. I'll grab that one. Again, you can click Shift and then click on the last file that you'd like to select a bunch, or you could hold down Command or Control to select a few different ones. So I'll take this one and that one, and then once I'm ready to move them, there's a few different ways you could do it. You could right-click on one of those blue highlighted files, or you could go to the top to those three dots and it'll say More Actions, and then you'll have this Move To. So if you click on that, then you see this little back arrow. I could go back to my drive that way to try to find the folder, but it looks like I'm already in my drive. I'll click on it just so you can see. So here's my drive, team drive. So if I want to go back in my drive, I can double click and then search for that folder that I created. So it was called Language Arts. And then if I double click on it, I can see what's inside there. Let's put that in Unit 1. So I could just click on it and then click Move, or if I want to see what's inside that folder to make sure it's the right one, I can double click. This folder's empty, I'll move. So now just to check, if it went where I wanted it to go, you have a confirmation message here, but I can also go back to that folder and to Unit 1, and I can see that all the files that I moved are there. If I want to move these back out, there's another way you can do it. To move files easily, you can also use these drop-down arrows on your side tabs here. So if I click on the one next to my drive, it'll load all of the different folders that I have in my drive. So I could just click and drag one of these to another folder, but I'm not going to do that. If I want it to just go back to my drive where it was, I could click and drag and just throw it in my drive. So now here it'll tell me it's back in my drive. And I can always undo. It'll give you a few seconds to do that. Or you could select multiple files and drag all of them back to my drive or to a folder of your choosing. In this folder, you can also see how the folders are nested by looking here. For example, Unit 1 folder is inside the Language Arts folder, which is in my drive. Also, within my drive, you can drag files in this list here. For example, I could drag that file, I could click and drag, and if I keep moving up, I can look through my folders. So for example, maybe I want to put this back in that Language Arts folder, I can just drop it in there. You can upload files and folders by going to New, and then you have the option to either upload a file or a folder. It's best to be in Chrome when you're uploading folders. I'm going to go ahead and click on File Upload, and then I can search through my desktop, documents, or downloads to find a file that I would like to upload to my Google Drive. I'm going to go ahead and click on Green Screen Ideas and then click Open. And on the bottom right, you can see the progress of the upload. When it's done, you'll see that green check mark. Another way that you can upload things to your Google Drive is by just dragging it in. So I'm going to make this a bit smaller so I can see my desktop. This time I'm going to grab a folder, and just be careful with folders. If you drag it in on top of another folder, it will go inside that folder. So if I want it to be on the outside here in that folder list, I'm just going to drag it where these random files are. So you just drag it in and then drop, and it should come up with that progress screen shortly here. Depending on what's in your folder, it might take a little bit longer to upload. When it's done, you'll also see that green check mark. Another thing to take note of is if you try to upload the same folder that already exists, you'll get a pop-up with a few options. So now that I've tried to upload the same folder, it tells me I can update the existing folder. Perhaps you added more files to your desktop folder and you just want to update, or you could keep two separate folders, or if it was an accident, you can cancel. If you try doing that with a file, it looks just a little bit different. So I'm dragging in that same file, and then you'll get like a little message at the bottom of your screen. So you can choose to keep it as a separate file. In Google Drive, you can also download your files. You can click on a folder or file to highlight it. And then if you go to those three dots again, you can find that download button. You can also right-click to click on that download button. Now, one thing to be aware of is if you're downloading a Google Doc like this or any other type of Google file, such as Google Slides or Google Sheets, then it will convert your file to the Microsoft version. So for example, if I right-click and click on download on this Google Doc, I can see at the bottom it says converting to Word. You should always open up the file just to see that your format has stayed the same. So I'm opening that in Word. In this case, this one looks okay, but every now and then the format will change, so it's definitely good to double check. One thing I've noticed is if you download a Google Slides presentation and it converts to PowerPoint, if you had any animations set up in your Google Slides, they will not appear in your PowerPoint. On the other hand, if you'd like to upload a file that's a Microsoft version, like Microsoft Word or PowerPoint or Excel, you can drag in that file or go to New and then Upload. I'm going to go ahead and drag in this persuasive writing file. I'm going to go down here and drag it in. And that is a Word doc. Once the file loads, you can find it, and if you'd like to convert it from a Word doc to a Google Doc, you can right-click and say Open With, and then you have the choice of a Google Doc. So the same thing for a PowerPoint. So if you upload a PowerPoint, you can always Open With and then choose Slides. The benefit of opening docs in that Google format is that you can then collaborate with others. So if I just had a Word doc, it would be a lot harder for me to collaborate with my colleagues. In Google Drive, there's a few different ways that you can share your files and folders. For example, you can click on a document or other file and then click on that share button, or you can right-click and then click share. Or if you have a document or other file open, you'll see a big blue button at the top right corner, and then you can click share. All of those different ways will bring you to the same place. Now there's a few different ways that you can share. You can get a shareable link by clicking at the top right corner, or you can enter people's names to share with just a few people. I'll show you the shareable link first. So if I click on that, it'll default to anyone at PVUSD with the link can view. You can click the drop down for a few more options, or you could just copy the link if the settings are okay. You can also go to Advanced to see a few more options. So here I see anyone at PVUSD who has the link can view. I can click on that change button, and then I can click anyone with the link, whether they're at PVUSD or not, can view, or I can make it public on the web. I can also change whether they have more permissions, like can comment or can edit. Once you're done choosing the settings that you would like, you can click Save and then copy the link. You can share that link in an email, for example. So you can just paste the link in there, though that won't look as nice as making a hyperlink. So for example, this one was called Intercambio. I can highlight that and then click on that link button at the bottom and then paste the link and press OK, and then I have a hyperlink. This is a good way of sharing a document, maybe with a big group. For example, I might type in a distribution list like everyone at HA Hyde. If the default settings are usually okay for you, the faster way to get the shareable link is to just right-click and then click on that Get Shareable Link. Then you just toggle it on and copy the link. So remember, by default, it's PVUSD can view. If you change your mind, you can always right-click on a document again and then go to Get Shareable Link and toggle it off so that it's private. Another way to share a document is by clicking on that share button and then entering people's names. Now you could do it here on this screen, or you could go to advanced where you have more options. So if I do it here, you can enter one name or multiple, and then choose the permission settings that you would like for all of the names that you enter. So I could give everyone editing rights where they can share the document with other people and they can make changes, or they can view and comment, or view only. If you look down at the bottom, there's this little notify people checkbox. By default, it will email everyone that you've added, and you can also add a note. If you don't want to send out an email, you can uncheck that box and then press OK. So I'm going to go ahead and add everyone as view only and press OK. And now what do I do if I would like to unshare with someone? So I'm going to show you that. So if I go back to share on this document and I go to advanced, I can see everyone listed that I've shared it with. I can also see that only specific people can see it. I haven't made it anyone with the link can view. And if I'd want to delete someone, I can just hover over their name and click on that X. You can also go back in and change their permission settings. So maybe you want some people to be able to view and some people to be able to edit. Another option in that advanced settings is you can check here to prevent editors from adding new people. So only the people that you've shared with have access to the document. And you can also, to make it extra secure, you can check on disable options to download, print, and copy. Once you're done, you can save your changes and then click Done. In Google Drive, you can also have different share settings for folders within a folder. For example, if I go to this HA Hide folder, currently it's not shared with anyone. I'm going to double click to open that folder. Now I have 3 different folders that I've created inside here. For example, if I want people to only be able to see announcements but not modify them, I could share that folder by right-clicking and going to share, and then I'll add a few people to that folder and then set it to view only. So my coworkers can only view the files that I add to that folder, and they cannot add anything to that folder. But if I'd like them to collaborate with me and add documents to this Writer's Workshop folder, then I could add them and set it to edit. And it might take a second to update, but I'm refreshing the screen to see if that little shared icon comes up. So now I can see that 2 out of 3 folders have been shared, and if I go to share settings, I can see what permissions each person has. I'm going to click on advanced, and I can see that Miranda and Courtney can only view in here, but they should be able to edit the other folder. To search for files in your drive, you can click in the search bar and type the title of what you're looking for, or even words that are in the document. So for example, if I type cat again and I click enter, I see everything that I have in my Google Drive about cats. Or if I'm looking for a specific thing, I know that I made a slideshow about cats, so I could do cat and then also slides, and that'll bring me to how to take care of a cat. You can also click on one of these Google file types, and then it'll bring up all the types of documents, and then you can click after it and refine your search. So I know I did a document about math, and then I can click enter and see all of my results documents about math. Another thing you can do is search by name. So for example, if I want to see everything that Courtney has ever shared with me, I can type her name and then click on her email address here. And then now I can see Courtney's the owner of all these things, and I can find one of the documents that I'm looking for. But if you want a more refined search, you can click on that little drop down arrow, and then you can add a lot of different options. For example, maybe I know that I was looking for a presentation and I was the owner, and let's see, it's probably not in the trash, so I might just keep that to anywhere. And so maybe some of the words in the document, maybe banana slugs, let's see if that brings up anything. And once you're done, you can click search. So here's banana slugs by me. You might notice that when you start typing, sometimes you find what you're looking for in that drop down, or you could click enter and get more results. And again, if you're looking for something that you worked on recently, you could always just click that recent button and scroll through and find what you're looking for. When you're searching, there's another useful feature, the view details button, so I'll show you how to do that. I'm going to search for video, and I'm looking for documents that I've made about video. So here's one, and it looks like it's shared with a few people, and it's also in my team drive because I see that symbol right there. So if I have it highlighted, I can click on that I for more information, or I can also right click and then find that view details on the drop down, and that opens up this section on the right here. There's two tabs, details and activity. If I look at details, I find that useful because if I'm not sure exactly where it is, I can scroll down and see, oh, it's in a folder called video, and here on the list view I can see that it's in that DTIC team drive. You can also see who it's shared with, and I can see here that the link sharing is on. If I go to activity, that'll show me who has been modifying that document. So for example, Courtney edited an item on November 18th, and I commented on an item on November 2nd. To access your settings, you can click on the settings gear, and then click on settings again. You can see how much storage you have used. But just a reminder, for our PVUSD accounts, we have unlimited storage, so don't worry about that. But if you had a regular account, any Google files that you've created don't count against that storage. Another thing that some people like to select is this checkbox to automatically convert uploads. So anything that they upload will be converted to Google Docs, Slides, Sheets, etc. I like to leave it unchecked just because if you select it, if you leave it checked, it'll convert it and it won't upload the original file. I like having the original just in case it changes the formatting. You can always click on a Word doc and open with Google Docs. So that's just my preference. You can change here if you go to change language settings. Close these tabs. You can change your default language. So here I have it set to English, and that is why all of the text here is in English. But if you click on that button, you can pick another language and select, and it'll change it. You can also add other languages that you understand. For example, I might add Spanish here. So I'll go to Español and select, and it'll add that there. Another option in your settings is to sync your Google files to the computer that you're working on. However, if you have that selected, it is not recommended to use a shared computer. I usually leave it unchecked just to make sure that my private files stay private. Another thing that you might want to enable or disable is these suggestions. The suggestions are that quick access menu. I have mine disabled, so I'll turn it on for you so you can see what it looks like. I think by default it is enabled. So if I check there and click done, then when I go back to my drive, it'll add some big icons at the top. So let's refresh that screen. And so it usually has documents that you've recently been working on here at the top. If you don't like having the quick access menu here, you can always go back to your settings and uncheck that suggestion box. Last of all, if you want any Google Photos to go to a folder in your Google Drive, you can check that box here and then click Done. You can also manage your notifications here and manage any apps. Now I'm going to teach you about Google Drive's newest feature, Team Drives. So to make a new Team Drive, you have to click on that Team Drive tab. When I do that, I can see all of the Team Drives that I'm a member of. To make a new one, you can click on that New button, and then it'll prompt you to create your Team Drive. So I'm going to call this Test Drive, and then Create. It'll take a second to load, and then you'll be able to add some members. Currently, there's only one member, me. If I go to Add Members, I can start typing a name or email address. So I'm going to type Courtney, and then I can see that her name pops up. Team Drive is a little bit different than My Drive because for each person that you add, you have to choose the permissions that they'll have for every single file and folder in that Team Drive. So if I make Courtney a manager, that means that she can add members, she can delete things, and she can also change the settings. If I make her a content manager, that means she can add, modify, delete, but she can't add members. If I switch her to contributor, that means that she can add and edit files, but she cannot delete anything or add members. If I switch to commenter, that means that she can view and comment, or viewer would be just view. So whatever I choose will be the setting for every file and folder for that person. Once I choose the permissions that I would like, I can click Send and it'll send a notification. Or if you would like to skip sending an email, then click that checkbox and then click Add. And then I should have two members. Sometimes it takes a minute to update. While it's updating, I'll show you how to change the background picture. So here I see the name of my Team Drive, and there's a little drop-down arrow next to it. If I click on that, I have quite a few options. I can email all of the members. I can go back to Manage Members if I want to add or delete members, and I can look at the Team Drive settings. I can change the theme. I can rename this Team Drive or delete this Team Drive. I'm going to go to Change Theme, and then there's a gallery that you can choose from. So there's a few pictures. If you see one you like, you can click on it and select, and it'll update the picture there. Also, when you look at your list of Team Drives, you can see the same picture there. You can also use a custom picture. So I'm going to go back to Change Theme and Create Custom Theme. If you find a picture in advance and add it to your drive, then you can use that picture. Now there are some size limitations. So I've added one picture of cats. I found that this picture didn't work because it was too small. So when I did an advanced search and found one that met the criteria of 1280 by 144, and now that I've selected it, I opened it up, and you can see that it's a bit limited. It's going to just be the size of this banner at the top. So you can extend the window here, you can move it around, and choose that part of the picture that you would like, and select. Then you can also pick a color for the theme, so it'll have your picture, but you can switch that top color to whatever you like, and then save. So now my background picture has updated. In your Team Drive, you'll need to know how to add files. Now you can just click New and create files directly within Team Drive. And whatever you create will be automatically viewable to all of your members. You can also move files, though there are some limitations at this time. If I go to my drive and I try to move a folder, let's right-click on that and say move to, and then I'm going to go back. I can see that it's grayed out here. That means it's not going to let me move it, and when I mouse over this question mark, it says that folders can't be moved yet. So there is a workaround for that. Let's say I want to move a few files within a folder, and if I find a folder that's owned by me, I can move any of those files. But if there's files or an entire folder that's owned by someone else, you'll have to make a copy of those files before you can move them. So I'm going to find one that I'm the owner of, and I would like to move some of these video clips. But first, the easiest way to do it is to go back to your team drive and make a folder for those files. Since I can't move the whole folder myself, I guess I'll go back to that test drive and create a new folder. And so I'll call it video clips. And then I'll go back and find those files in my drive. You can select one or multiple files and then right-click and move to, and then go back all the way until you see team drives. If you double-click, that'll take you to see all of those team drives. Double-click to get in there, and then you could just select that folder that you'd like and click Move. And here's my confirmation that it is moved and members have access. Another way to move files, especially if you'd like to move a folder, if I have a folder with a lot of files in it but it's not owned by me, or it might be a folder that has files, some are yours, some are other people's, and you don't want to go through copying individual files, you could download an entire folder. I already have a folder on my desktop, so I'm not going to go through that, but once you download a folder, you can go back to that team drive, and then you could either do new folder upload, or you could just drag it in. So I think I'm going to put it next to that video clips folder. Go ahead and drag it in, and then that folder will start to upload, and once it's done, it'll be viewable by all the members and editable depending on what permissions you gave them. In your team drive, you cannot share an entire folder with someone outside of that team drive. Here you can see that it's grayed out. If I go to share, I can't share, I can't get a shareable link. However, you can share individual files. So if I were to share this one, I can go to share, and the pop-up looks a little bit different. I can just go ahead and add an email address here and decide what permissions they would have. I might switch that to view and add someone that's not in my drive, and then go ahead and send. Another way you could do it is you can go to who has access to see some more advanced options. And this is where you could turn link sharing on. So by default, when I turn it on, it's viewable only to people at PVUSD. But if I click on this checkbox, then it'll allow external access. So I could share this link with anyone, whether or not they're at PVUSD. You could also make the document findable in search results, but I usually only leave that first one selected. And then I would copy that link and click done and paste it in an email or wherever it is that I want to share. Another thing to know about team drives is that each team drive has its own separate trash. So if I am in this DTIC team drive and I click on trash, I only see files that have been deleted from that team drive. On the bottom, it gives you a little warning that things in your team drive trash will be deleted forever after 30 days. Unlike your regular My Drive, when you go there, Things don't ever get deleted unless you actually go in there and delete forever. Let's go back to that one. If I'm in that trash can from DTIC, I could also click on this drop down and select a different class if I'd like to see what's in the trash there. And I can click on Files and then that I for View Details to see, well, who actually deleted that file. And then I could choose to restore it or not. And that's about it for Google Drive. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Thanks for watching.